Good morning, Clearbranch kids. I hope you guys are having a wonderful month as we're learning all about patience. I know that I was getting a little bit impatient as I was getting ready to prepare to teach this lesson to you today. But I waited and I was patient, and now here we are. And so what really is patience, and why is it so important? Well, patience is waiting for later for something that you really want right now. Maybe sometimes that's a cupcake, maybe it's some new game that's coming out, or maybe it's just that you cannot wait for summer vacation to start. But we can't make things happen sooner than they do, and so we have to wait. And we find in the Bible many, many examples of when God made promises and people had to wait. Because our timing is not always what's right, but God's timing is perfect. Now, we've explored several different kinds of stories, and last week we talked about what can happen when you don't wait patiently and you try to rush things, and what can happen when you do that. But today we're going to hear a little bit different story. We're going to hear about what can happen when we're waiting, and maybe at first we're trying to be patient, but over time, as it seems like we're having to wait forever, we start forgetting the things that we know. And maybe we start doubting, or we start forgetting what is true, like maybe the promises that God has made to us. So again, this week, we're going to take for our story way back from the New Testament, but this time from the book of Exodus. And our main character, well, he's not really our main character, but he is a focal character in the story, is Moses. God had chosen Moses to lead his people out of slavery from Egypt. And he did. God gave him and the Israelites everything that they needed. But once they had gotten safe out of there and God was providing them food and water, there came a time when God came down as a cloud over a mountain, and he summoned Moses to come up to him. While Moses was there, he gave the people a set of rules to live by. And these were rules to help keep them safe and to keep them close to God. And so Moses went back down and he told the people about them, and they were excited. They wanted to do the things that God wanted them to do. After all, God had taken such good care of them. But then God summoned Moses back up. And so he told them, hey, I got to go for just a little while longer, but here's my brother Aaron. If you need anything while I'm gone, you can talk to him. It's going to be okay, and I'm going to be back. Well, he went. And he stayed gone. And he stayed gone. And it got to the point where the people started thinking that Moses wasn't coming back. He was gone for 40 days and 40 nights all told. And in the meantime, the people started getting really impatient. They started forgetting that God had taken care of them through all this time. They started forgetting that God was leading Moses and giving him what he needed to be a good leader. And so they started doubting that this is what they should be doing. And so they went to Aaron. After all, Moses said, if you need anything, go to Aaron. And they said, we need you to give us a God, something that we can worship. And Aaron said, okay, bring me all your gold jewelry. And so they brought it to him, and he melted it down, and he made it into a golden calf. And they put the calf up on an altar, and then the next day they had a great big feast, and they worshiped it as if that was the God who had been taking care of them and who had led them out of slavery. Well, meanwhile, Moses is still up on the mountain with God, and God sees what's going on, and he's like, hey, Moses, your kids are acting crazy. You need to go check on them. So Moses comes down from the mountain and sees what's happening, and he is furious. Now, while 40 days and 40 nights can seem like a long time, they had been in slavery for hundreds and hundreds of years. And yet in just over a month, they had already started to doubt that God loved them and was going to take care of them, and that he would return Moses back to them as their leader. And so he took that golden calf and he burned it up, and he took the dust. And now this is where it gets wild, y'all. And he poured it in water, and he made them drink it. As if to show how bitter that tasted, that was to remind them of what would happen when they started forgetting or doubting what God had told them in their impatience to have their leader back. So I hope that you never get so impatient that someone burns something, grinds it down to a dust, and pours it into water for you to drink. But it's a very good story to remember. But what I do want you to remember also is that when you have to wait, and sometimes you're just going to have to, that's just the way life is, that you always pray, you stay close to God, and that you never forget and always remember what's true.